Now, in our last video, we talked about building that community, right? So let's say you have finally launched your hub and you're starting to welcome some members in there and you're posting some content in there and there's a little bit of silence. Don't stress. Don't feel disheartened. Like my previous video said, this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's usually something that we call like the silence phase. And it doesn't mean it's failure by any means. It's actually predictable behavior when it comes to starting a new community and people are starting to sort of slowly trickle in. And it's been backed by decades of research. It's common, very, very common. So once you understand it, you'll be able to stop chasing the validation and thinking what's wrong, and you can actually start leading this community with confidence. I'm Nikki Kelly. I'm the founder of WISDOME. It's a platform that helps course creators, coaches, and community builders just bring their people together with less texture and more clarity. And today I'm going to be breaking down what we call the 90-9-1 rule, which is a concept that changed how I lead community, and it will completely shift how you measure engagement in itself. So if you're feeling unsure about how your group's momentum is going, watch this video. All right. So what is the 90-9-1 rule? Well, this is based on Jacob Nielsen, the Nielsen-Norman group. And what it is, it's based on explaining how people behave in online communities, right? Now, what it is 90% of people tend to be lurkers. They will read, they will watch, and they'll absorb, but they never post. Very, very common. I'm sure you're aware of this, right? Then you got 9% of people who actually do engage with your community, your posts and things like that, but they'll only do that occasionally, right? They might like something, they might provide a small little comment in your post, they might even vote every now and then in a poll. But the next one is your 1%. Yep, 1% of people contribute regularly. And these are the people who tend to start discussions. They tend to reply to a lot of comments and even participate really deeply in a lot of your activities that are in your community. So this rule has been observed across forums, social platforms, and even like just a whole lot of learning communities over the past 20 years. It is a common rule out there. So if your community feels quiet, you're not doing something wrong. You're just seeing normal human behavior that happens online. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, we want to get an understanding of, the numbers and why our community is a bit quiet at the start. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because all too often people give up too soon and they expect immediate feedback from everybody. But expecting all your members to post is like expecting every podcast listener to leave a comment or review on your podcast. So I guess, one thing I constantly do, and especially in these videos, I always sort of want to make our audience understand, and our listeners and our community members to really understand, to give yourself a bit of a break, right? And that's the reason why I'm posting this video, because I don't want you to give up. I want you to know that this is just a part of the behavior, right? Of members coming in for the first time and testing you out and testing the content, seeing what the space is like. But when you actually understand this, it really does help release that pressure to perform, because a lot of us tend to think, what am I missing? They're not engaging, they're not replying, they're not doing a whole lot of things, but that's not a problem. People are just warming up. They're getting used to it. And if they see you with this high pressure, it's going to scare them away. So it gives you a really realistic engagement goal, I guess, in a sense, by understanding that the silence phase is nothing to worry about. And even past that silence phase with that 90-9-1 rule, you can always understand that really only 1% of the people that are in your system will really and truly engage and get things flowing with you. So please don't put that pressure on yourself, right? Be realistic with respect to your engagement goals. And this will also help you design your space, possibly in an area that's more around how people actually behave. So it won't make you feel like you have to constantly throw a million polls out there thinking maybe one of them will stick, because people will just get sick of seeing a million polls. So instead, you'll design your space, you'll design your content exactly around how people actually behave with your content, not how we wish they would. And so hopefully this will actually move you from frustration and worrying about your membership to actually leading inside your membership. So here are 4 specific ways to lead better knowing this 99-1 rule. Now, I've mentioned this before in a previous video, and one thing to do is just track the quiet signals. Comments are visible, but value is often very silent. So pay attention to things like email open rates, video views, how long people have been watching your videos for, click-throughs on links, even DMs that you might get weeks later that actually say, I've been loving your group quietly. These sort of things will happen. Trust me. I've had, some clients that come through and they run challenges. Let's say, for example, one particular client said it was dead quiet through a challenge, but a couple of weeks later, I got an email from someone who had registered for the challenge, but finally came to me and said, I actually enjoyed the challenge. I just didn't have enough time. Can we kindly get together and have a chat? Because I'd really want to learn more with you one-on-one. So you just don't know who is lurking around. So these quiet signals are basically showing you that there's real sign of people being engaged. They're just not making it public. So of course, the second step is really supporting that top 1%. We really want to nurture those ones. So these are your early adopters. These are your community anchors, as I like to call her. So what to do here is acknowledge them, thank them in your group, and invite them to sort of co-create, conversations, threads in your socials, things like that, and feature their wins or contribution. And people see others engaging. What that actually means is it makes them more likely to join. This creates what Harvard calls a pro-social loop, right? People see others engaging, which makes them more likely to join in. It's almost like that herd thing, isn't it? It's like you see one person go through and it's like, oh, okay, they're going through. Yeah, let's all go through. It's sort of like that. But what it really does come down to is when you start seeing someone else engage, you see, oh, there's confidence there, there's trust there. Okay, it's that typical testimonial feedback kind of thing. That's what this is. It's a pro-social loop. It's basically getting people to start engaging. So when you really concentrate on that 1%, those people who really do engage in your content and do interact with you and others in your membership, nurture those people. Get them involved. So I'm going to say this again, minimal engagement, make engagement effortless. How do we do that? Well, this is basically based on shifting someone from that 90%, not engaging at all, to at least that 9%. We need to reduce the effort and the pressure for them to actually engage. So try a couple of things, right? You could try, like I mentioned, the one tap poll. Click here if you think this is great. Yes, done. They've done. Or emoji check-ins. I've mentioned this a few times, and yes, it's true. It works. I'm sure you've come across posts where people say, throw in an emoji of how your week's been, things like that, right? Other things you could do are like simple prompts, like, what is one word that describes your week that you've had? Something like that. Even filling the blanks. They're really fun things. Like right now I'm focusing on blah, blah, blah. People love that sort of stuff because it's just adding in a little bit of themselves in there, but not investing too much or giving away too much. And this echoes behavioral nudges, right? So there's a guy named BJ Foggs, and he works on a behavioral model like this, and it increases likelihood of action. So these little nudges that you're providing people really will get people into that, right. So the fourth one, and it's going to sound really weird, but normalizing that lurking behavior, right? Sometimes we just need to say it out aloud that it's okay to observe quietly. You belong here whether you post or not. So letting people know it's okay to turn up and not get too involved, right? So the reason why we want to sort of still, normalize the whole lurking side of things is because it creates that psychological safety. It just lets your members know that it's okay, right? And it reduces the fear of judgment, and it also reassures any new members who are still deciding if they want to open up as well, that they can just relax as well. They don't have to dive in straight away to be part of the community. They can just sit and watch for a little bit and just slowly warm up to it, right? But the main thing is that you're actually leading with empathy. And then by doing that, the trust will grow within your group, and so does your community. So let's bring this down to the 4 things. All right. Most of your people won't post, and that's normal. Focus on the signs of value, not just the visible public replies, right? And build systems in your community that support your 1% and gently invite those 90% into the 9%. And most importantly, don't confuse quiet for failing. Please don't. This rule changes everything once you actually embrace it. So if you liked this video, I would love it for you to actually like, subscribe, and click the notification bell on this video. And hey, and if you're one of the 90% watching quietly, I'll see you around.